excited? Yes. It doesn't sound like excited. You're all excited! So normally if I don't get that reaction, I tend to tell some opening dev jokes, but I'm going to tell them anyway just because that's what I do. And I have like 100 of them on fire. So you're in for some fun now. So an SQL walks into a bar. Anyone heard this one? No, that's good because there's a follow-up one. An SQL walks into a bar, sees 2 tables and asks to join them. I'm not going to do the second one now. Really? Yes. Okay. I know SQL walks into the bar. I know SQL second walks into a bar, sees 2 tables and leaves in disgust. That's the response I was expecting, but welcome to Localhost! This is the first one, which is really, really exciting. So, and for those playing along at home or in the room, you can follow us using the hashtag, so localhostBME, which is here. Feel free to take a photo because photos are great, they last forever. Just saying, and it's a hashtag. Oh, it's a photo! That wasn't scripted. No, it wasn't. Anyway, there's a really big lag with these slides. Anyway, hello! My name is Stephen. And for those that don't know me, I am Developer Steve on Twitters and all the social media things, so please happy to follow on and chat throughout. And yes, I will tell you more jokes. I've been telling some to Josh recently, who's just moved his spot. Go. He went!
He's out.
You missed your cue. Anyway, it's fine. Housekeeping. So, for those that don't know, there is toilets just outside near the lifts, and then the males are on the right. As you walk towards them, males on the right, women on the left. There's signs. It's easy. In the event of an emergency, please panic. Just jump out the window. No, don't panic. Reinstall the database. Make that one up. Don't panic. We will help you get into a safe spot, there's fire escape. It's all fine. There's actually a green sign right there. But anyway, there won't be an emergency though. It's all good. Woo, Jedi mind trick. Tonight's event is completely made possible by these amazing people. So we've got the Australian web industry. Woo! Big round of applause. Oops. Nope. This is because I'm doing this split screen thing. There we go. Yay, it's back.
Yay, we're back.
We'll edit that out. So yeah, big thank you to the Australian web industry for the food tonight because it is really. Did everyone love the food? Wasn't it great?
Yeah.
Woo! Oh, only one person. Now I'm gonna have to tell another joke. How many developers does it take to screw in a light bulb? None. It's a hardware problem. There's a follow-up joke to that because someone's always heard it. But anyway, that's fine. We'll get to that one. There's more. The follow-up joke? No. We'll keep it for later. I only have a few preloaded. There's a lot of them. The Just Digital people, amazing space. We all know them. We all love them. Big round of applause, please. Woo! And our drink sponsor, Young Henry's, which is a really cool, hip, really cool drink from Sydney. Anyway, from Sydney, they're amazing too. Big round of applause, please. We have some really, really, really good speakers tonight, but we will get to that in a little bit. No pressure. Fine. If not, we can edit it. So, what's going down tonight? So, what we'll do is start with some news things, which we're going to have a special guest get to. This bloke all the way from Perth, from a long way away. We'll get to that. And then tonight's talks. Woo! We'll get to that as well. And then we'll just go through some upcoming events, and we'll do more chats and noodles. So, I said I'd do a really, really good, there's this one intro I've done whenever I've done a talk in Perth, and I get to use it again tonight because Padma is from Perth. So, Perth is one of my favourite places to go. It's the only place you can go to in Australia without a passport and get jet lag. Oh. And on that note, Padma!
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Look, thank you everyone for having having me tonight. It's an absolute pleasure to be here in Brisbane. This is my first time ever here, and it's been really great. Everyone's been super nice. Thank you. Thank you very much to you all. Okay, yeah, so again, thank you specifically in this room for coming along and supporting this initiative tonight. It's one that's, you know, been a bit of a passion project of mine for a few months now. Really excited about it. But the most important thing is that this is a meetup specifically for you. Everyone here in this room, the Brisbane community. So I really encourage you to get involved and, you know, really help shape and mould it into the meetup that you want it to become, and, well, you know, to actually one that you want to have and need in this industry here in Brisbane. So again, thanks for having me here. I suppose the other thing I wanted to raise is for those who don't actually know the story behind, or the background behind Localhost and where it was born from. As Steve mentioned, all the way on the other side of the country, back in Perth town, we created this meetup because it was a space where there was a lot of specialist meetups, and really, well, I believe that there's definitely absolute value in having specialist meetups, because that's where you can hone in on your skill set and get really great at what you do. A generalist meetup such as Localhost means that a lot of different types of disciplines and backgrounds can come together, collaborate, cross-pollinate, and learn from each other to actually have the ability to grow and make our industry better as a whole, and therefore making us as better individuals as a whole as well. So make what you will with Localhost Brisbane. I'm really just so excited to be here tonight. Thank you to the team who have put up their hands to volunteer. It's just really, really awesome, and I'm so excited. And for the people who I haven't had a chance to say good day to yet, please come say hey. I'd love to meet you all. And yeah, look, I don't have any news. I just wanted to say hi and to say that you're awesome. Thank you.
We've got a whole bunch, as Pamela said, we've got a whole bunch of really, really good meetup groups, so a whole different bunch of communities in the room tonight, which is really, really cool, because it means an intermingling of new ideas and different disciplines and different groups, which is great. So please network. There's some, you know, we've put on good food, carried it up the hill myself. No, I didn't. It's fine. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of different really good groups, and a lot of these groups we're tracking, but we keep a list of all the event meetups and all the conferences, the hackathons on localhost.events. So please check that out. Just to name a few of the groups in Brisbane that I know have been on recently, so the Brisbane Content Strategy, BrizJS, WordPress Brisbane, UX Brisbane, and Cocohead Brisbane. There's a whole bunch of others, so please, you know, network amongst people, and no doubt we'll hear from, we'll see everyone at these meetups at some point in time. On that note, we have our first speaker. Yes, that's an animated. So we have our first speaker out. Oh, I was going to do another joke, but I've already... Oh no, I do. I have another joke, and I've forgotten. Woo! No, I haven't. Do you want to hear another joke?
Yeah.
Yes, you do. So this kind of leads into the next speaker. Well, we'll get to that. But so an API walks into the bar, gets a cheese-style greeting because it's so well connected. That one's not so good. I don't use that one often. So our next speaker is Matt Wade, who does a lot of really cool things with tech, including AI behind the site publishthis.email, which is one of those really cool TLDs which I absolutely love. I went and checked it out. It looks cool.
Yeah, I was going to plug it.
Oh, you can still plug it in. That's fine. We'll edit that bit out. But yeah, please, really big hand from Matt Wade, talking about building an API with GraphQL and AWS Lambda. And yes, that's a tongue twister. Big hand, please. Woo!
If I ever do a talk, I try not to share much code, but this is kind of, don't have a choice. So that's me. That's my Twitter. You can find everything through that. Everything links to everything else. I'll go back. Hang on. So a few years ago, I was part of a team that won a startup weekend for made this product called Churn. I did it with Glenn over there at the time. And it evolved to a bunch of different things, but basically, this is a site that lets you make video channels, but more specifically, it scrapes all the good curators on the internet that do video blogs, scrapes Reddit, scrapes tons of sites, and so it helps you watch stuff that's way better than searching through YouTube, because YouTube sucks at giving you recommendations. So like an example would be, go here. Just shows you tons of, this is a demographic that's probably more suited to guys, with lots of fails and lots of random videos, trailers, X gamesy stuff. But yeah, this was just a site where you could go on, say you had a, how do you spell it? So you like wanted to do a music playlist at a party or something, you can do all this in just within the app, which is quite nice. Just plays it video after video. Anyway, that's kind of the relevancy here is that it was costing us about $50 a month. At its peak, this was doing about 100,000 users per month, and it kind of became a product that we didn't want to pursue any longer, but we and a small group of us used quite a bit. So I didn't want to pay for it anymore, and we were looking for ways to rewrite it so we didn't have to use Amazon EC2 as much, because it was quite expensive. And what popped up was the serverless Lambda framework that looked like it was cost effective, but it also looked like it would appeal to an API that had a single endpoint. And so that's why I came across GraphQL, and that's what this talk is about, rebuilding Churn's API in GraphQL and Lambda serverless. So you guys who built things before, I don't know how you like to lay out API routing and stuff like that, but sometimes it ends up as a big list, sometimes you do it in different ways. But who's familiar with this kind of thing where you're building an API, you come up with a ton of endpoints, they might be REST, they might be something more custom, but you end up trying to think like, hey, what do I need to do to fill out this API? And every time, it's a challenge to figure out which endpoints you need, what they do. If you change them, it's a pain in the ass. But yeah, who has actually built an API before? Okay, cool. So Facebook in 2012, I think, came up with this idea called GraphQL. Basically, it's a standard. I don't really know exactly how to explain it, but it's a replacement for the standard REST way of doing APIs. It's sort of a query language. It's a sort of a source of truth. It's a bunch of different things, but I really like where it's headed and what it can do. So I was just going to take you through a few of the core ideas and show you how we implemented it, and a few of the problems and how we overcame them. So to give you an idea, this on the left is a query that you query an API with. So rather than just call an HTTP endpoint, you would write that you want a human with ID 1000, and you want its name and its height, and you get JSON back that looks like this. So ultimately, it's just a REST replacement. It doesn't do anything specifically. That's up to you. I'll go through a few of the core concepts. So it works well with Express. You can just call this GraphQL Express, which is a Polo.js made middleware, and you can, that's basically it. It creates one endpoint that you can call and you can query. And the basis of these APIs is you want to define things called types. So if you've ever built a database schema before, essentially you're writing your API like a database schema. It becomes your source of truth with types, that kind of stuff. I'll give you an example. Where are we? So going back to Churn before with the videos, we have different channels that have lists of videos. And so it's a bit complex, but you have descriptions, you have schemas, which have fields. You can define what you like to represent a channel. So we've got like titles and blurbs, URLs, that kind of thing. Some more complex stuff, like calculate the total videos on the fly, or I've got a video list which does this paginated kind of return. You have input types, which are the way of passing arguments to your GraphQL queries and mutations that let you do something to the server. But that's essentially it. Once you define a type, That's all there is to it. And then you have two concepts called queries and mutations.
Subscriptions.
And what?
Subscriptions.
Subscriptions? Okay, my bad. You can come up at the end and talk about subscriptions. So yeah, I'll just roll back a bit. I am by no means an expert in this, but I don't think anyone else is either. But there'll be a lot of like conflicting things coming out of the...
That's not conflicting.
That's the chance. Conflicting with my understanding. So this is a query, and at the root of all queries is this thing called a resolver. Basically, if you do a query mutation, what you'll end up arriving at is this resolve function, which basically is what you do with the query. It'll make more sense. I'll show you. So here's a query for reading a channel. You give it the type that you want returned, description, the arguments you want passed, so you give the channel slug, and then in the resolve function it'll actually do the work. So here we get the database, grab the resource of the database with the appropriate keys, which come through the args, which is the slug here, and that would just simply return the channel. Now, mutations are things that you want to do to your database, basically. So you've got things like creating channels, a little more complicated, but they still end up in a resolve function, which again, you'll just see in the resolve for the mutation, you can create a resource for the database and chucks it in. So you might be thinking, okay, I do this anyway with my API endpoints, what's so cool about GraphQL? We go to, where are we? Yeah, okay. This is called GraphQL. It comes with GraphQL just out of the box. Basically, it's an interface to talk to your server once it's live. This is the churn server at the moment running on Lambda, and that's the endpoint up the top. And what it lets me do is just run queries and mutations directly in it, getting the results back. So it's great for testing and that kind of stuff. So you can see here, I've got a query, calling the channel query, which is exactly this one here. And I'm giving it a slug. And the cool thing is, because you added descriptions, where are we in types? Because you've added descriptions and things, it's auto-documenting, which is really helpful. So I could ask for the slug, and I've never seen this API before, and I go, okay, all right, I want the total videos. It's also hierarchical, so I can say I want the recent videos, and of all the recent videos, I want the recent video title. And then you just run it. Hopefully the internet works. And there you go, get the JSON back, all the cool stuff. You can use it as you wish. Why is this good? If you built client-side stuff before with complex APIs, you end up calling a lot of endpoints to get a whole bunch of data. This lets you essentially, depending on your design, retrieve it in one round trip to the server and back. It has some downsides in terms of like security and stuff, but I won't go into that right now. So building this churn API, I hit one really annoying problem, and that's basically because everything happens inside these resolvers, you have to do everything in here. Similar to a REST API, you probably do anyway. You might do permissions in here, you might do database CRUD stuff, you might do some sort of analytics things, posting stuff different places. It just felt really ugly to do all those extra things inside the resolve function. So I built Oh, by the way, this API is open source. Here. Maybe in the video I shoot. Right, maybe I didn't have it open. Sorry for that. Okay, so this is a wrapper I built for GraphQL. It's called 2x4. We were calling things you can beat people with at the time. Has no relevance. Basically, when you create a GraphQL schema, you just define it and you define your queries and your mutations. What this does is it adds an extra object, and you call it into the 2x4 function. You pass in your schema. You also pass 3 different types with an arbitrary array of keys. And what this lets you do is assign arrays to these keys that contain promises that have to successfully execute before or after, depending on the type here, then your resolve function. So one of the interesting things about GraphQL is it's all promise-based. So when you make a query, for example, where are we? When you query this channel, I'm just returning a simple get from our database. But that might fail. It might fail because the channel doesn't exist, or something like that. This function here returns a promise which won't resolve. It'll fail. And if any resolve promise fails, it kills the whole query or the whole mutation and jumps you out. So when you create a channel, you'll see here I've got this extra key called permissions. This isn't a GraphQL thing. This is something I've assigned in my my model here. You see it on the I've assigned a key permissions. What this lets you do is build promise functions as well that can do some different kinds of permissions checks. It allows you just to pass them into your types. The reason why I found that nice was because it means that, where's the create channel? It means that rather than writing all the logic inside here to do permissions, we can just chuck it up. It's more contextually correct. It removes any unnecessary code and leaves the resolve to do the work that you want to actually perform on the database. The other reason it's good is it traverses the entire GraphQL hierarchy. So you could put these on individual fields, individual arguments that do specific checks if they exist in the query or the mutation, which gives you this granularity where you can check on the actual definition rather than in the resolve that might be bubbled up.
That's your own package, right?
Yeah. It's not too long. Code kind of hopefully makes sense. So that's GraphQL in a nutshell. I mean, you might be wondering why should you use this. I think what it does is it creates a standard. So you'll see here, when I query for the database and putting resources or getting resources, I don't need to care as much about any schema or anything because I'm guaranteed of the type safety from the actual definition of the API itself, which is quite handy. I also like the fact that it's standard. So if somebody created an API and it was built in GraphQL, I already know how to interface it. I already know how to read it, get all the descriptions. I can probably use it much faster than reading the API docs someone has to generate. What else is really cool is there's some nice add-ons. One of them is it's called GraphQL Documents, I think. I should have had the slide up. This here is the entire API documentation automatically generated straight from the code, which is quite helpful. And that's one line of, if you just go on NPM, install the module, one line of code, one line in your terminal, and you've got this entire documentation, which is really great. Doing that also forces you to document your API as you go, which I think is a good habit. How long am I going for? Is it like a clock? Doesn't matter. I haven't timed this at all.
What's that called?
I think it's this one. Yeah, GraphQL docs. Yeah, really helpful. I won't go into too much detail. There's also another library called Data Loader that Facebook has created. If you are a keen inquisitor, you might notice that with these hierarchical queries, you might, in say a social network, you might be able to ask for John's friends and his friends and his friends and his friends, and you could have this really elaborate query that behind the scenes is just repeating and cycling the same kind of calls. If you're requesting the same resource, you might be hitting the database multiple times for the same thing, which is a little bit annoying. So Facebook has created another package that goes well with GraphQL called Data Loader. Basically, it's just a caching system where if you hook up your types, you can make really crazy requests and it already knows what's being loaded and just makes the thing more efficient. So, next, what else have I got? That's the address for 2x4, if anyone's interested. Oh, yeah, okay. I didn't want to go too much into Apollo. This is client side. So if you're going to interface with a GraphQL backend, you can literally just get some simple libraries off GitHub that are really small, that let you write queries, throw them in and get some JSON back. But Apollo is this really nice library that works well with React. It essentially creates a Redux store for itself, and it's a caching system. So if you call a GraphQL query, it'll cache all the keys in their own way. So if other components are calling similar queries but slightly different, it's really good at keeping things already in memory, so it helps performance, etc. It is very black box-ish, so if you do use it and you run into a problem, especially with things like pagination, it can be a little bit daunting to debug. Good question.
I'm actually using Apollo, and I was wondering about those features. Are they just automatically active?
Yes.
Because it is a bit black box, you just kind of set it on, like it's kind of working.
Yeah, so rather than tell it to cache stuff, it caches stuff. You need to tell it when to refresh and when to do something. Otherwise, it just keeps it
If you just include React Apollo, it's automatically deploying a Redux.
Yeah, you just give it the endpoint and that's it. That's another like nice feature. But at the same time, black boxes have a tendency of, if you're moving outside the narrow kind of design idea, it can be a little annoying at times. And we found that forms were interesting, and pagination was also something that took some time to get a head around. You'll see if I go back to the endpoint, I've got recent videos here, but I can ask for the actual videos itself. You'll see that I can get like the first 10 videos. Oops. We'll grab, let's grab their titles as well. And you'll see it's not as intuitive as just asking for the titles of the videos. There's these layouts that are recommended to be used where you create an idea called an edge, and then an edge will have a video on it, but it might also have other pagination information and that kind of stuff. And then within the edges, you could ask for the video title and get the first 10. Oops. No, I'm just doing this. Run that. Same kind of thing, but it's now on the edges type, which you'll see gives the array back. The reason for this is just when you're paginating, there's a lot more information than just the data itself. You might want totals, you want cursors to figure out where you're at if you want the third page or however you design it. So Facebook came up, well, I don't know if it's specifically them, but the guys go with an idea of a generic cursor that you can apply to all list types, which I won't go into too much here, but it does get interesting when you're trying to do pagination and stuff. So we ran this on Lambda serverless. It's not a whole lot to talk about that. Does everybody know what that is at all? Lambda? Just a couple? Okay, Lambda's the future that's not quite there yet. The idea is amazing. It's basically saying, don't spin up a server until you need to use it, right? It makes perfect sense, right? It's also super cheap. If you make a startup and you've got 3 users, you're not going to pay any money. It's really, but yeah, as you scale it, it scales with it. It's really good. The problem is, well, that's actually technically called Lambda. Serverless is a layer built on top of that to make it easy to use. But if Lambda's ease is 1 out of 10, serverless is like 3 out of 10, and so there's still like a lot of room to move before it becomes easy to interact with this kind of setup. I'll show you one thing. So you create a serverless YAML file. I really don't like YAML. I'll give you an example why. Oops. That will fail silently without telling you. You have to get the spaces exactly right. But the idea is that you just tell Amazon that you want to have some endpoints. I want to get and post an options endpoint with the word GraphQL. It tells you a JavaScript function to run for that endpoint. It says here that I want to have access to some resources like Dynamo, which is a database Amazon runs, which unfortunately, if you want to use anything else with Lambda, don't do it yet. The reason being is, you can imagine if a computer has to boot up, or a process has to boot up every time it's required. For traditional databases like Mongo or something, you're connecting every single time. It's not just a server sitting with the connection. So if you look at like the code too,
Hey Matt, are you running the YAML validator plugin?
Alright, I'll download that when I get home. So yeah, for Lambda, it's actually nice. You just create a function, and the only problem is you have to kind of do your own HTTP stuff, your headers and everything like that. There's probably some nice libraries out there, but it's quite low level in what you can do. We just grab these here. I just grab the JWT if there is one. That gives me a viewer. And I run the GraphQL function with the schema, with the request query, passing the database, passing the JWT instead, and then runs and just catches. It's nice and simple. It's really easy to set up a hello world for Lambda. The second you are doing something that breaks, it is really annoying. You've got to check logs, and you should install a module called N, because Lambda only works with Node 4.3, which is missing a lot of things that newer modules are using. So yeah, N is a nice module that lets you just change your node version really fast, from like latest to an older one. So you can do some testing, which is better. Testing with GraphQL is a little bit of a pain. You end up writing a ton of different queries, which is just more code. You can go test it if you like, but I'm sure you guys know what testing looks like. List. You end up writing tons of just queries by hand. It's probably a better way to do it. I don't know yet. Yeah, the API is really nice. You just have a function, you do something in there, and you just call the callback when you're finished. Nice and simple. So this is a single endpoint, calls GraphQL, gives you a query, comes back, talks to Dynamo because Dynamo works well with Lambda, and that's our server. What else do I have? Yeah, that's kind of it, but I did want to do a little plug at the end for a product we've not really been working on. We created this thing called Publish This Email. We built it in like 3 days. It's just a nice way you just send an email to this address. There's a few other options, but it will generate a website of your email. That's it. It's the fastest way to publish ever. 140 countries are using it, from sharing prayers to letting kindergartners make web pages really quickly to the DNC in the US doing their mail outs with it, that kind of thing. It does images, feature life hacker, that's not a big deal. Where are we? There's an example one here somewhere. The pages just look like this. It's literally just straight out of, if you've got an email client, you can make a website. So yeah, we still don't know what it's for. If you happen to use it and you have a cool idea, let me know. Thanks.
Wasn't that amazing? Who's using AWS to do some really cool stuff? Well, who isn't using AWS to do some really cool stuff? No, everyone is.
This is, sorry, the Publish This is also using Lambda because it makes sense.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How long do people who are not using GraphQL have until they are completely obsolete and out of date?
You have to ask someone from Facebook. I don't know. I feel like it'll be a long time, to be honest. I think it'll be like one will grow like that and one will grow like that, and yeah, I think you'll still have to make do with both. I don't know.
Any other questions?
Mine's a two-parter. It's a correction. Lambda supports 6.10 now too.
As of when?
As of like March 27th.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I put this API together like a month or two ago. So.
Disclaimer, Glenn's actually from Camp.js, so...
Been keep away from me or something. The other one was security. You mentioned that you'll skip over it, but what's a TLDR?
Oh, like a problem with GraphQL?
Yeah.
It's like a resource thing. So, because you can call hierarchical queries, you could, in theory, call like friends of friends of friends of friends of friends and do like a DDoS in a really unique way that can't really be done with current APIs. So the mitigators for that at the moment are ideas like having a layer that can kind of figure out a cost of a query before you run it, or have some sort of exiting reason or some other thing, but it's not really well defined yet. But I don't think the average person is going to be pretty safe from that kind of stuff.
For those that didn't know too, Lambda is actually included in the AWS free tier. Which
Yeah,
is really cool.
it's millions of calls for free. So if
Free. Oh really?
Yeah, not the free tier. Like the free tier is forever. If you have, I think it's like 1.4 million free calls.
Oh, nice.
If you set up a blog on it or something, you can theoretically have free hosting if you don't have a lot of traffic, which I think is an interesting idea.
Awesome. Any more questions?
Can I ask a simple one?
Yeah.
So can the query that GraphQL is it write as well, or only read? Like, can I upload?
Sorry, yeah. So there's queries and mutations. Mutations are like the writer. They're just an arbitrary distinction. They're really the same thing, just with a couple of different keywords put in, just to separate the idea of an action you want to do to manipulate something versus just read.
So I can send stuff back as well as.
Yeah, exactly. And you can create your own types. They have a serialized, deserializing framework. You can build things with dates. You can do things like if I had to interface the Stripe API, which if any of you use Stripe, can have like a gazillion keys for stuff you'll never need. So rather than write them all out as types in GraphQL, you can build like a JSON type. So you can call like one key and it'll just throw back like a whole chunk of JSON. You obviously can't access the same granularity in your query as you can normally, but it speeds up dev time for interacting with things like that.
More questions?
More just a plug for Yow, which is happening next Monday and Tuesday in Sydney for anyone who wants to get all up in the grill of Lambda. They're having, hey? Undo that, words back in my mouth. Steve's going to talk about it later. Alright, Lambda related.
We'll edit that out.
I'm out.
I have a final question. I think it has no other. What was your first computer?
When I was a kid, my first program too was just an IBM 386.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, GW DOS, I think it was at the time.
That was when DOS was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to make. I love those games where you like pick up rope for a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I wanted to make my own one. Yeah.
Awesome.
Hopefully that wasn't too boring. I know it's a generalist thing and it was pretty codey, but hopefully it maybe shed some light for you.
That was awesome, bro.
Big round of applause. So before our next speaker comes up, I thought I'd do a bit of a code demo. This is one I've done a couple of times previously, but it's a code demo using 8-bit artwork, because 8-bit's still cool. It never dies, it never goes out of fashion, it's amazingly good. So I'm going to do a bit of a demo using open source. Ta-da!
Oh,
Yeah, and that's the response. Correct, you all win! You all win. You may have used it a few times. You all win stickers. No, we actually do have some really cool Localhost stickers, so please come up and see us afterwards and we can sell you out stickers. And I may have brought my big bag with me as well, so I have a few others as well, so you can please come up to the front afterwards and yeah, you can have a rummage through. Because devs love stickers, am I right? Who wants stickers? And now we have our next speaker. On that note, I thought I'd do another joke though before we go into this, just because I know you love the jokes. Yeah, you do. Seeing as how we're doing bar jokes today, our designer looks into a bar, but immediately leaves upon disgust upon seeing the table layout. There was another one I thought of, but oh no, I went to that one. Okay, cool. There's more to come. Anyway, our next speaker is really, really amazing in the UX space, the user experience space. Ben Michie knows really good user experience, and he's a designer, hobbyist, code monkey, helping change the way Australian government interacts with all the things digital. And we love him for that because they need help. No, his stuff's awesome. Big round of applause for Ben Michie.
So I'm going to talk about what UX design is. Wish I had a better name for this actually. And the way I wanted to do it was to talk you through, I guess, a UX design process and quickly show you some of the activities that you would see someone who's doing UX design doing. And then just a couple of like little mistakes that people make that sort of set them off in the wrong direction. You all can ask questions as we go through, or you can ask questions at the end, I don't really mind. I'll save some notes, I'm just going to make sure I get through all these. So one of the things that's conception of UX is that it's about wireframes, and it kind of is to a degree. But the thing with UX as well is how do you decide what you're going to put in your wireframes, which is the majority of the design process. So this is a double diamond. It's one model for a design process, and so it's the model I'm going to talk through. And I'll expand on as we go through. But the main thing for this model is that there's two parts to a design process, or these two diamonds. There's a problem definition diamond, and then there's the definition of the solution, or the delivery of the solution. The significance of this is that you probably want to define your problem before you define your solution. And in terms of wireframes, they kind of happen about here. So there's a whole bunch of stuff which comes before that, which is understanding what goes in those. So this brings us to our first kind of UX mistake, which is people will quite commonly start with an idea rather than, and then just like they'll run with that idea rather than thinking about what the problem is they're actually trying to solve. So like I guess a common thing that someone does is maybe they're, travel example in this, so someone they're travelling to work, they're sitting in traffic and they're thinking to themselves, I don't want to be in traffic, I'm going to miss a whole bunch of meetings, this is really annoying, I have a problem, and what would help me with this is if I had an app which told me about this traffic jam and I wasn't stuck in it. Which is an idea that might help their problem, but if they thought about what the problem was that they're actually trying to solve, maybe it's not solved best by an app that helps them avoid traffic. Maybe their problem is that they even have to travel to work that day. So maybe the problem to solve is to, I guess, help, or the opportunity maybe is to help them telecommute, and then if you actually solve that problem for them, it's going to be more effective, and they've kind of like they've solved hours of their day and all that kind of stuff. They solve those frustrations. And I guess the thing is, like, you might imagine, like, if someone's sitting in traffic lights, like they're probably a little frustrated, they're probably distracted, they should be focusing on driving, maybe they're trying to focus on making a phone call legally or something. They're focusing on the meetings. The idea they're going to come up with then probably isn't going to be the most well thought out idea. But you frequently see that. So you see like executives and CEOs and so forth will have this idea and they'll come into the office and they'll say, we want to build this thing. And if people don't question what that idea is and the problem it's solving, if they don't go back and do this double diamond thing of, so essentially that executive or that person in traffic is starting here and just moving forward. So if they're skipping all this, it could work out as well. Like this, not all ideas are bad, it's just a general thing with UX design is that the first idea probably isn't very good. So it's also other design models. So that double diamond one's convenient because it talks about a bunch of things. This is one from a group called IDEO, which is suspiciously diamond shaped as well. They have 3 phases, but they have this. The reason for the diamond is this concept of diverging, converging, which I'll talk about in a sec. And this is another one which is from another sort of big player in the design space, which is Stanford's D School, which teaches design. But there's a similar kind of thing happening here of they're understanding the problem with these kind of steps. So they're empathizing, which you'll hear a bit about with UX design, and then they're defining the solution. This is a bit more of a recent one, and it's kind of going into that like MVP thing of creating products and releasing them to production, and you're sort of doing this big cycle of stuff to try and understand the results. So I'm going to go through this really quick because I don't want to take up all your time. I practiced it and went for half an hour, so I'm going to try and cut it down. So what I want to do is go through the four stages. So the first one is this discovery stage. So the reason for the diamonds is and it's a bit significant for design. So it's this concept of diverging and then converging. So diverge out there and converge down here. And what they're diverging and converging with is the thinking and the ideas. So the first thing that the designers want to do when they're trying to understand the problem is they want to be understanding it as much as they can about the problem space or the domain, but they want to be doing it free of constraints or free of their own bias. Everyone has their own bias and they view the world in a certain way, and that influences how we interpret things. Everyone agree with that? So I can give, yes, I'm not sure. I have an example, but I'm not sure you need it. So if you assume that's true, then what's happening here is people going out and doing research. They're talking to customers and stakeholders of various people, and they're trying to learn things, and they're not trying to constrain what they're learning. They're trying to just learn as much as possible, because the more they learn, the more kind of ideas they can come up with, the further they'll get from a certain path. If you imagine with a person who starts with an idea, they have a whole bunch of thinking in the back of their mind that which led them to that point. They've already kind of decided what the problem is. So in terms of, if you use this diverging converging thing or space to understand how much thought they put into a problem, it's kind of just like a single line of like they experienced some problem, and so these things just led on. They eventually have this idea and then they want to go and build it. If someone is trying to understand stuff which in an unconstrained way, then they're moving beyond that line. They're finding out all this other stuff. So for this travel thing, they're trying to understand what people's work day is like and why they have a need to go to work. And but it also things that might seem relevant. So like what's their family life like, and what are their commitments outside of work? And it's just trying to make sure that they understand as much as they can, and then they can get rid of a whole bunch of those ideas later on. So, which is really, so that concept of, I guess having an open mind is another sort of classic UX mistake, or not having an open mind, I should say. So people will quite commonly start off the research, they have their ideas, and then they research those ideas. They've already decided what the problem is, and they just want to confirm it. So that's still better than nothing, but it doesn't lead to ideas that are far off that original one. There's this concept of empty a cup. So if your mind is a cup and you want to fill it with information, you need to empty out your preconceived ideas and fill it with new stuff. That good? Okay. You can ask questions at the end. I just don't want to ramble on too long. So what I wanted to do after sort of going through these things is just talk about the different kinds of activities you might see someone who's doing UX design doing, just give you a bit of understanding of what they're sort of trying to achieve. So competitor and trend analysis, it usually looks like spreadsheets, and it's getting understand the landscape of the competitors, but it's also doing trend analysis. So they're looking at what's it like for people who are like for customers in that space, but what are the trends across the industry? Do people like apps these days, or do they like mobile websites? Maybe Bitcoin's a thing, so maybe it's a trend that's coming up. So it's understanding those as well, and just getting this broad understanding of trends in the industry. Essentially, you can do it by industry, or you can do it worldwide. Most are kind of done. Oh, and with all these sort of techniques. Across that double diamond, some are used more in certain diamonds more than others, but all these can essentially be used at any stage across it. I've sort of grouped them up by where they generally go, and where you generally find them. So I'm just going to make sure you're not missing out anything amazing. Yeah, cool. So ethnography, or kind of broadly observation, is people going out and just observing customers. They're trying to learn as much information as they can without influencing their subjects. Something a bit similar but also a bit different is like interviews or contextual inquiries. They're actually different things. So an interview obviously is when you get someone, you start talking to them, you ask them questions. So where the difference between those two is where you would do that. So for interview, you might invite someone into your office and you're having a chat with them and you ask them a bunch of questions and you're learning information. But the problem with an interview is people will tell you what they're aware of, but people are quite frequently not aware of a whole bunch of stuff, that particular things that are really simple with their jobs or their work, whatever it happens to be. So a contextual inquiry is essentially doing an interview in context. So this is, I think, an image from NASA, and so this guy's, he's probably doing an interview here, he's writing some notes, and this guy's doing some hammering, and when he's talking to them about what's it like making a bit for a space station or something, if this guy's talking about hammers and he has to go over here and he has to put his tool down, then this person can see what other tools are around, and maybe that's a significant thing for the design. But you probably wouldn't know at this stage, so at this stage he's still doing that diverging of thought. He's just trying to learn as much as he can instead of writing down a whole bunch of stuff and seeing what's relevant later on. The difference between interviews, between these and ethnography, is that these people aren't aware that this guy's watching them, whereas these ones are. And it's pros and cons for all this stuff. Focus groups are kind of like a big interview. The advantage you get to do a whole bunch of people at once, so that's kind of cool, but you have groupthink and you have this person, or the people with the strongest personality in the room are probably going to dominate the conversation. So someone who's facilitating a focus group is probably going to try and counter that, but you still have that kind of bias. But it's nice to get a broad sample, and you can invite a whole bunch of people in the room and you can have them talk to each other and then prompt each other, and you can get information that way. I'll talk a bit about this throughout it, but a lot of what people do with design is trying to make connections between things that haven't been connected before or aren't really thought of as being connected. You find, I guess that's kind of where innovative thought tends to occur. So having people from different backgrounds who don't normally, I guess, interact, and you invite them in, and you can find out a whole bunch of stuff from them. They also do things like they'll prompt each other, and one person will talk about, I know I use 8 hammers, that person's like, oh actually yeah, I do use several hammers, I just mostly use one or something. Personas, so we're doing all this research, you're looking at a whole bunch of people and you're finding out all this information, and so you may be getting hundreds of pages of notes or designs like post-its, so you're getting like thousands of post-its, and that information eventually becomes too much to refer to. So if you want to be able to talk to stakeholders or executives or what have you about what you're seeing, you can't show them information, but even for a designer who's really interested in that kind of stuff, it eventually becomes too much. So what we start to do is make models of that information or abstractions. So Persona is a really common tool to do that, and it's a model of a subset of the user base, and it's usually based on behaviours. So you find all the people you talk to, there was a whole bunch that share these kind of behaviours, so you make this persona, which is it's a fictitious person, but it's based on the real stuff you saw. So these goals would be real, and these frustrations are real, and then you can design for those things. You can design to do those goals. You usually have a set of these, say like 4 or 5, it's quite manageable. Empathy maps are a little bit like this one. No, empathy maps are a little bit like personas, kind of not as well. Their persona's a bit behaviour, this is a bit emotion, but you can have either and both. You can't really read this, but it's just saying thoughts and feelings, seeing and doing, saying and doing rather, hearing, and there's a pain, it's the gain one. This is really useful working with stakeholders to get them to start feeling a bit of empathy. So rather than talking about what people, like their goals or their money or whatever happens to be, this one's talking about, I guess, the emotion and the things that influence those people at that emotional level. So another one of those things, I'm not sure if much people agree with this, that people make, like the majority of decisions they make are emotional decisions, and we tend to make these emotional ones, and we rationalise it, and we think that the sort of rational, logical story that we tell ourselves is actually why we did stuff, but it's usually emotion.
Totally disagree.
Disagree? So it's an example I'll give you. It's actually a documentary I was watching, but it's cool. So there was a person who was, so she was an engineer for like a big engineering firm. So she was a project manager for a big engineering firm. So she managed multi-million-dollar projects. She had a very high profile job, and she was responsible for making a lot of important decisions. She was riding on a motorbike with her husband. They came with the motorbike around the corner. She hit her head. They were both fine afterwards, but she had some brain damage. One of the things that, the area of the brain that she damaged, which is, so the theory was, I suppose, there's, like with all this stuff, there's no guarantee of any of it, I suppose, but the theory was that she damaged part of her brain that connected the rational thought and the emotional thought, and they found that as a result she wasn't able to make really simple decisions. And so the example they showed in this documentary was she goes and so she worked with a neuroscientist who's trying to help her through this. She goes into the grocery store and she has to buy some, like she has to make dinner. So he's like, okay, what do I make for dinner? And she's like, oh, potatoes and sausages or something. And they're already decided. So he's like, okay, well let's go and choose some potatoes. And so she's looking at the potatoes, and he was getting her to talk through the logic for which potato she would choose, and she was having a lot of difficulties because there were, like, each potato had so many different attributes for it that she wasn't able to decide. It was too overwhelming. So, like, a potato has like size and colour and shape, and it has like imperfections on it, but some are good for roasting, some are good for mashing, and all these different things. And she was trying to do it, and then she was just so overwhelmed she had to leave the store.
That's why I hate shopping, man.
Yeah. But the thing is that, like, for you and I to go in, like, to try and choose a potato, and particularly, so the thing with emotional reasoning is that it's really quick. It's this, have you heard of this kind of 3 brain theory? You've got the lizard brain and so forth. So the emotional one's the lower one. It's more well evolved, I suppose. So if we're having trouble making a decision, we'll make it really quickly, and we'll just go, I like red, and we'll choose the red one. But we won't know always that we're choosing the red potato. What we choose, like we tell ourselves, oh, I'm choosing the potato because it tastes better, but that's kind of emotional. But we're not. That's not actually why. We're just doing that because it's a fast one to do. Yes.
The best example of that is people with epilepsy. Sometimes they do a procedure that cuts the cornea closer in the center.
Yeah.
And they show them like they cover one half of their eye, and they show them pictures. You get the alternative side to draw the picture, so that your brain, goes right to left, left to right. And yeah, they come up with all kinds of interesting rationalizations.
Yeah. There's a lot of so there's a whole bunch of like. So for a neuroscientist, when someone gets brain damage, it's actually kind of exciting because they get to learn something about the brain, which is really interesting for us as well. That someone writes a book and you get to learn more about people. So that's kind of the general thing with this. It's trying to, so not just with this, it's with, I guess, all of design. It's kind of trending that way, I suppose, in the sense that if you can connect with people emotionally, and maybe make them think they're still being rational, then you'll have a more effective design. I don't know. That's what I think. So empty maps are one way of doing that. Journey maps do that a bit as well. They're also a bit different. This one, I like this one because it's Lego, but they're generally done in sort of this flowchart kind of thing. This one has all the essential elements on it. So what you've got is kind of a motion line going through. So you've got little happy faces and stuff. You've got these stages, and you've got these kind of touch points or actions that are occurring. And so what this shows, this is another model of your data. So you've got personas and they have models. You do a journey map for a persona. This shows with that person or that type of person that you've found, when they go through our product, this is the kind of experience or the service, this kind of experience they're having. The really easy thing to use these for is you look at all the sad points on your journey, and you can fix those in your service, and they can become really easy things to do. But they're used for a whole bunch of stuff. They're quite handy, and they don't always look like that. Cool. So at the end of discovery, what the intent is to have a whole bunch of these ideas, all this stuff that you've learned, and now the challenge is to find a focus, work out what the problem is that you actually want to solve, or the problems. So because we're going so broad without diverging, we're learning a whole bunch of stuff, and all of it's relevant. Your company can't solve all these people's problems. Some of them are more expensive than others. some have more benefit, some are already being solved by other people. So it's about working out what that is. And so one way to do that is, well, I guess you don't do any of these techniques per se, but this one is, it's actually 3 themes, insights, and how might we. So what happens here is you get a whole bunch of data points and you connect. So I was talking about connection before. So data points could be like all the little things you find. So people like cookies is one, and people like coffee is another, and maybe that becomes a theme. So you merge these 2 things together and you go, okay, well now like we're seeing that people like food. What designers will typically do is look for connections multiple times. So they'll get all the data points, usually on post-its and things, they'll put together and they'll look at that and have a think about what does that tell me? What kind of insights do I get from that? And then they'll pull them apart and they'll put them back together again, and they'll see what other like different kind of groupings, what kind of different stuff that leads them to. The how might we's is kind of framing an insight as a challenge. So how might we give people cookies or avoid them having diabetes or something? Workshops in co-design. So you know what a workshop is. Co-design is, or like it's short for collaborative design, and it can be done in a workshop, but it's getting your, so you're getting your business, maybe you're getting people from the call center, maybe you're getting programmers, maybe you're getting testers, and you're also getting your users and all these different kind of people on supply chain maybe. You get them all together and you ask them to do activities, maybe they're making journey maps, maybe they're doing those themes, but they're making those connections for you. So whereas you can do it yourself, you can get them to do it, and they have their own points of view and they're connecting them for you. So the output of that wouldn't be the design, the output of that is some interesting stuff that you would use to work out what problems that you want to solve. So this is them identifying their own problems for you, which is handy. Surveys, you know what surveys are, they're good, they're quick. Prioritization I put in because it's obviously what you need to be doing, you need to be working out, synthesizing these ideas down. Dot voting is super common. You give everyone in the room a bunch of dots and you ask them to choose which ones they want. So obviously this idea is good, this idea is good, this person probably voted for their own idea. There's a whole bunch of text, but this is, so you have your personas and you want to explore what their experience is like. You can just write a story, so that's kind of easy. It's a low investment thing, and the way I like to think of it is, I think they're really cool, and it's like, with sci-fi books, they kind of define the future a bit, and when you're reading it, you can kind of get that emotional connection as well. So they sort of have technology in them, but they don't focus on it. They're focusing, the implementation of it, they're focusing more on the characters and what they're going through, and so you can write out a story like that, and it's a handy way to explore it. Storyboards are kind of the same thing, but they're like a graphical version of it. You get pros and cons. This one, obviously easy to consume. It forces you to put in details you may not be forced to put in, like the inside of the coffee store or outside the coffee store or what have you. So common mistake here is when doing the synthesis and trying to work out the problems, is trying to solve everyone's problems. It's actually kind of a problem all the way through. And the obvious thing here is that if you're targeted to everyone, trying to get everyone to use your product is going to be really difficult. And I have a little more to say on that, which I will find. And, yeah, you know that's fine. I was going to talk about metrics and measuring. So, okay, so after going through this first diamond, it was this stage, it was working, it was learning a whole bunch of stuff, and now you find what the problem is. But now you need to work out what the solution is, and you pretty much do the same thing. So rather than coming up, so going back to that travel example, maybe that person had an idea of what this app would look like, and if you just drew that app out and built it, then you're not getting the most out of, I guess, everyone's input. So a better way to do it is to think of all the different ways that you could solve that problem, and then work out which ones you actually want to do, which ones are going to test well. So you're working with users all the way through this. So a really common mistake is assuming that the solution is going to be a screen. Kind of when you're going through this sort of diamond, and if you're working with various stakeholders and so forth, the more detailed design you give people, the harder it is for them to shift outside that mindset. So if you have this problem and someone decides that the solution is an app, then people can have a hard time thinking outside of apps. So at the start, you actually might start off with one of those scenarios, or you might start off with a storyboard or something like that. And the point of that is to get people thinking about what possible solutions are without giving them too much detail, and you can sort of add the detail and narrow it down again. So things you use here is brainstorming, whatever kind of brainstorming. Well, there's a bit of a people not liking brainstorm lately, but it's good if it's structured and you can have activities which helps people through it. Co-design again, so when you ask them to work out what the problem is, now you can get people's input to define your solution for you as well. Card sorting is really common, so that's good for getting understanding of people's mental models. Yeah, no?
No, scratching my head.
Yeah, cool. So the gist with card sorting is you give them a whole bunch of ideas, like this kind of thing, and you ask them to group it, and maybe they name the groups, and that gives you an understanding of how they think about stuff. So I think this is like a news site, and so if you saw a lot of trends with people naming things like this and putting similar information in there, then that kind of defines your information architecture for you. If you're seeing disparate stuff, you've got some design work to do. Sketching, so sketching out ideas, so that's really cheap to do, so you probably want to do sketching before you're doing code building. So you can add more details you go through. So this is sketching, this is putting a bit more realism around it. This is the Wii U.
Can you scroll it?
Sorry?
Can you scroll it?
Yeah, so you can scroll it. And this is pretty common, so people do this with iPhones and stuff. I was finding all stock images. I found one which is an iPhone, and they just got an iPhone, taped a bunch of bits of paper to it, and they were just flipping through them. But it's kind of cool because it lets, I guess that helps someone just bridge that little imagination gap. Versus if they were looking at this, so someone can still do this, and like, for me, if I'm thinking through a design, what a user would do, this is fine for me, but I can't get other people to sort of imagine that, so this is the kind of thing you might do. And you need to be usability testing or user testing throughout this, so that like the designer or the people in the project team, they know, so that they do all that learning from the first time, and they know a whole bunch of stuff, and they generally, you kind of don't realise how much you know until you show it to someone, and then they're like, oh, actually, I don't understand what's happening here, and you realise that you've made a bunch of assumptions. You assume that they know how many hammers there are. So this is kind of an iterative thing. So you do some testing, you change your design, do some testing, change your design. You can use this to narrow down what those ideas are. So the classic mistake here is not actually doing that, and so people will they'll look at the problem, they'll decide what the solution is, they'll draw up some pictures, they'll build it, they'll put it into production. People might use it, people might not use it. Generally, like, I'd be surprised if someone could not test with people and get a good design first time. So that's, and very occasionally you might be the user as well. This is, so for me the two most important diagrams in design or models in design. Small one's double diamond, which shows the overall process. This kind of shows the designer's challenge, and yeah, it shows the designer's challenge. So what's happening is from a cognitive scientist named Don Norman. What's happening here is you have a designer who has, so this design model is what's in their heads. This is what they understand about the product and the domain, and you have a user as well. They have their own idea, and they come to the product with a preconceived idea. So someone downloads an app, they know how apps work, and if your app doesn't work the same way, they're going to be confused. The challenge for the designer is that the designer can't tell the user how the app works. They have to sort of communicate that through what Don Norman calls system image, which is essentially like the UI for all intents and purposes. And so the user is forming this mental model from using this, but so what tends to happen, mistake that people make is that the designer, they have an idea about how it should work, and they go and build a system. The user doesn't know how to use it, so they put a whole bunch of text on the screen to tell them how to do it. And what that text is doing is it's saying this is what the model is, and they just list it out. Click here to do this thing. Add this, I don't know, thing to your cart before you can buy whatever. The easiest thing to do, kind of way of cheating, is to work out what the user's model is, and then you just design it around that. So you design this thing to make it look like that, and that's essentially what research gives you. So that research, we're going and talking to people and trying to empathise with them and understand how they see things, like card sorting, I was saying, sort of understand the mental model. This is kind of it. So you're working out what this is, and then you just show that back to them, and it works automatically. And delivery, this one is quick. So it's more of the same kind of thing. It's just at this stage you're doing a whole bunch of stuff and you're exploring and trying to find new ideas. And this one you keep going, but it's just getting rid of the ideas that aren't working. So prototyping, just high fidelity. You're probably going to code something. You're going to be doing user testing, just high fidelity again. The previous one was paper prototypes. This one's obviously on screen. You may be writing specs or something for developers. It depends. If they've been coding the whole way through, they're not going to need it, obviously. And the custom mistake here is releasing into production and then assuming that it's done. But with all that, so I guess there's a false confidence with all the testing and iterating with users that people think that that the design's finished and it's going to work really well, and it'll work better if it wasn't done. But the real test for it is once it goes to production, it's still being tested in production. It's just the results you get are the real results, and so it still needs to be occurring after that. So the only thing I didn't cover is who does UX. So I would say everyone. Everyone agrees. But I guess if for a lot of places they may hire someone to lead them through the design process. That person may call themselves a UX designer, or they may call themselves a human-centered designer or something else, a product designer. But it's kind of, the way I think of it is sort of, everyone sort of has this role in UX, and same way everyone has a role in the business and the outcomes it achieves. So some more than others, but everyone has input into it. And anyone who affects it is obviously doing it. That's it. These are a few interests. These are a bunch of books, which are probably more influential, I think. In terms of methods, there's so I showed you, I don't know, 30 or so. I'll put these slides on Meetup if you like. So in terms of methods, there's got to be thousands. This book has heaps on running workshops, and these two, this is IDEO, that's Stanford one, and they have a whole bunch of techniques, and it tells you how to do them. You can't learn by doing, they're quite easy to learn about. Yeah, that's it. Thanks. In terms of doing, so it's just that, flow charts, that kind of thing, Illustrator if you want to make nice deliverables. In the second diamond, when you're doing more UI design type stuff, so Aksha is this prototyping tool with drag and drop, and it lets you generate prototypes from that. So it's kind of Aksha, A-X-U-R-E. There's, what's really popular is Sketch. It's like a vector illustrator. That combined with Envision, so Envision bought Sketch. But Envision is an online tool where you get pictures and you draw little hotspots on them, and when you press the hotspot, it does something. So it slides. Envision? Yeah.
Is that before? That's pretty good.
Yeah. I-N, Envision, yeah.
Is that really by Sketch?
Sketch, so Envision bought Sketch. Yeah. Ages ago, didn't they?
Yeah.
Sure they did.
Collaborated.
Envision started Craft, which is like the big plugin.
Okay, don't buy them. Well, they did. So the advantage of things like that is that using Inspector Illustrator so makes it, and its purpose for like doing that kind of UI stuff, so you can make these little widgets and you can drag them around and everything. But you are making like a hotspot type thing, so you don't really get data entry. Whereas something like Action lets you do data entry, but it's really hard to do the high fidelity, nice looking stuff. But it's pros and cons. They're probably the two biggest, I think.
Internally we use Sketch with Craft and InVision.
Yeah.
And the output just for the developers and not having to generate PDFs with sizing and font information is fantastic.
Yeah.
You just get this output with all of the information you need.
Does it dump out HTML or something like that?
No, like it's just a website. So you do all of your graphics and you do all your slices and whatever, and then it'll give you all of the fonts, and it just syncs it up into InVision, and then as you go through InVision, like it just gives you like the page, the spacings, pixels, font sizes, everything.
I'll show you a demo later.
It's really good.
The way I used it was I just sketched out my designs on paper, and then I took a photo with the phone and upload it, and you hop in different buttons. It was a really quick way to do a mock-up, and if people can use it on your phone and then use it as an app.
Hand drawn out.
Yeah, that's a hand-drawn app.
Yep.
And use it. It's really good. You can do something in an hour, you get an app out of someone. And
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like in those workshops, so have workshops going for a couple of days, and so that's something people might do. They might like mock up stuff, but we're doing that. There's another one called Marvel, which is a similar thing. To take a whole bunch of people. Was that what you said? Yeah, so Marvel like does that kind of thing for apps, and you do that, do the hotspots, and then you go off and test it with some other user who you're doing a co-design type workshops, and you get that kind of feedback then, which is handy so they can iterate and everything.
My other question was, how does one become a UX designer? Because obviously there's like industry wisdom there and engineering processes, but it's relatively new. And
I don't know. I guess it depends.
how did you become a UX designer?
I did the degree that I did now changed to be a UX degree, so I kind of studied it. But I did business analysis, and I did programming for a while, business analysis, and then I just asked someone if I could do it, and they let me. I guess the thing is, like, in a sense, like, if everyone's doing UX design, and, like, I work in government so much, like, we generally have there's not generally strong leaders, like, people are quite confused, because it's just big and it's confusing.
Yeah.
So they like leaders, so someone who starts leading in the design space and sort of gives people a bit of guidance and does it confidently, generally gets to lead the design. So like that double diamond thing, like if no one knew how to do that in your organisation, and you said this is what we should do, and you can take that and say we're going to do some exploring, we're going to work out these problems, it's for these reasons, and you can time box that. You can go 12-week project, 6 weeks first time and 6 weeks second. That kind of stuff gives people confidence that you know what you're doing, and then you just make it up as you go along. the thing on the slides at the end with like the design kit and stuff, so they have all these ideas, and they're like, the descriptions for them are like 5 bullet points of stuff. But they're generally pretty good, and design stuff's a bit weird because it's hard. It's not like code where you compile it or whatever, when you run it and there's errors. Like, no one really knows if there's errors. You just got to kind of sell it. So I think that's probably it. I don't really know.
What resources did you use to train yourself then? Obviously, you wanted to move into that role, leadership, that allowed you to do it, but then obviously you learn how to do this.
So those books I listed were really useful. Heaps of just practicing stuff and trying new things. So you always will be trying new things. One of the values of a designer, I think, is that they just think a bit differently. So all that stuff, like that neuroscience stuff, like that's, I guess, the stuff that I'm interested in, but not everyone believes it, right? And so if I'm making decisions that are based around that, I'm just leading them in a different way. As long as they do it confidently, then they think it's good. If everyone's, I don't know, if everyone's really, where I work, everyone's quite confused, so I tell them that it's going to be okay, and they believe me. Like, it's online things, General Assembly. I work with a guy who the General Assembly course after he finished uni, and he was amazing. I was really, I was shocked by how good he was. Industrial design shares a lot of the same thinking. Meetup group, yeah. So there's Localhost Brisbane.
They got a Slack group too.
Yeah, there's a Slack group. I don't know. It's in the slides. There's a product designer. So Jai runs a product designer meetup as well. So I have a Slack group. If you have questions, you're welcome to go on there and ask me stuff.
I worked for a startup based in Thailand, in Chiang Mai. We hired this cute as button Thai girl, which is like 20, something like that, just finished her studies. And then she worked with us for about a year. And then she went to Germany to study UX.
Yep.
So there are actually dedicated courses for that now.
Yeah. So there's one at UQ which started this year.
Okay.
So like
it's very new.
Well, it's been around for, like, it was called something else. So when I was doing uni, it was interaction design was kind of what it was.
Human-computer interaction is the one that you...
Well, yeah, it goes with a different name. So human-centered design is quite, and there's like service design as well, which is a bit more of a business perspective, but it uses a lot of the same techniques. There's a whole bunch of stuff really. Like it's quite popular. But it's been around for ages. So HCI, human-computer interaction, has been around for, I don't know, like decades. And that was more of a, I guess, I'm not sure. It was a bit different. It was a bit more sciencey, less emotion-y.
Yeah, it sounds like they got a better word, like human-computer interactive design.
Yeah. So it used to be called computer-human interaction, and then they changed the order around to make it more human-centered. That was like a thing.
So I had two questions, just to finish up on. Wait, any more questions? Oh, there is. Okay. I won't tell you.
You showed a ton of tools.
Yes.
And I made like every mistake on every slide.
That's good. But you know now, right?
But in like a time for a startup with minimal people, do you have like a low hanging fruit? Like which tool do you go to first?
Talking to people, I'd say. I think
traditional.
I'd say so. Like really, you need to understand the people you're designing for, and then so I'd say that and being self-aware. So.
That's pretty hard.
I'm going to add something to the back.
Meditation.
I just got one of my startups into the Facebook Startup program, and they have free user testing, and there's Balsamic for free, and there's like a whole bunch of stuff. And I was like, yay! Anyway, I'll keep working. You have to be integrated though. So. That's what I said. Like talking to people is easy, and like if you talk to one person, that's better than talking to none. You talk to two, it's better than that. If it helps as a general, is this kind of rule of this guy Jacob Nielsen who does a lot of user research stuff, and he has this kind of graph showing like how much you learn from the usability testing stuff, and so he worked out, talked to about 4 or 5-ish people. That's when you learn the majority of stuff about what you've done. This is more, I guess, usability, but like you learn a lot about that stuff, and what you find is that people are distracted by problems, and so if you keep testing, you'll keep finding the same stuff. So if you test about 5 people, then you fix those problems, and you test 5 more. It's kind of a common thing, but I think probably, like, I kind of focus on this a bit with mine, like for me, doing the UI design stuff is quite easy compared to getting the right problem at the start. I do have the HCOs, and you've experienced their services.
There's a free service called like usertesting.org or something.
Yeah.
You can see the website and you'll get a video of someone using it and talking through it.
Yeah, which is awesome. Yeah.
So which of you talked about a lot of techniques and I love the presentation. Which ones do you use at the Australian federal government?
Yes.
Which, you know, we all have our stereotypical preconceptions of which of these techniques are used like in your workplace?
I don't think I've put up anything I haven't used. But I wouldn't do necessarily all of those every time. So, and it's more than that. They're the popular ones. I've used those more than other ones, I suppose. but what was I going to say? Yeah, so like with that design kit thing, that thing would have like majority of that stuff in it. And it's kind of about, like, it's a little bit intuition, but it's just choosing the right tools for the job. And so all those things says as well, like those tools that are in there, you could use them at whatever stage you wanted to. So like wireframing and prototyping you might use in that first diamond, not to design what you're going to build, but just because for some reason it's too hard to get people to articulate what they need. So you can go, okay, well, draw me something, or I'll show you a bunch of things, and you're not going to use those wireframes to base your design off, but you're using it to tease out their thoughts and get a better understanding of how they think about stuff, I guess, forming a mental model. And to model their mental model. That's what you want.
I have 2 questions.
Yes.
I've been remembering them the entire time. First question is, so big buzzword IoT things.
Yes.
Has anyone done any UX stuff around IoT? It actually dawned on me while you were talking.
I'm sure they have. I haven't read anything lately, but you would. Like, I guess it depends what you think UX is as well.
Well, I think I kind of got that from one of the slides where you said UX isn't just screen, and it was like, yeah that's true. Like an interactive button or a display or a sensor or a thing is UX as well.
Yeah. Like for me, I'd even talk about like letters and emails and SMSs, and if someone comes into a store and that's part of it as well, like it'd all be.
Maybe you draw the line with service design.
Yeah. And I don't really like need to do it, I suppose. So I guess service design for me is kind of the early stage. So like where I work, like with the double diamond thing, we have a separate area that does the first diamond mostly, and I usually do the second diamond. And so they kind of do the service design stuff as well. It tends to have more of a business focus, so it's trying to guide the business and, well, I'm not an expert at service design, but my understanding of it is that it's trying to guide the business in like the services that they should be delivering, whereas the UX thing is more of they've already worked that stuff out and now they want to make that product or whatever it is. There's like different levels. I don't really. I find that labels aren't super useful. I get confusing. So there's actually. I wrote this presentation 2 other times, and I had this slide in here of different disciplines, and there's like product design, and service design, experience design, and human-computer interaction, and human-centered design, interaction design. There's all these things in industrial design, and like they're all different, but they're all quite the same as well. It's kind of about outcome. It's not really your title.
And last question: first mobile phone.
My first mobile phone, Nokia 3210.
The good old days.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. It was really like durable. You could drop it and it was fine.
You run over it and
last for a week.
They're still running somewhere.
Yeah.
Awesome. Big round of applause. Oh no, I put the thing again. Cool. So that was some really, really good talks. Who loved those talks? So there's a whole bunch of other events happening on. For those that haven't already seen the Localhost website, please go check it out, because the team nationally works really, really hard to make sure we keep all the current up-to-date events listed on there. I know I've been through there. I've done a whole brain dump of all the meetups I knew of, including a whole bunch of really cool Brisbane ones. Woo! Brisbane! Upcoming conferences. Yes, this is the slide that Padma was talking about earlier. So Yao Sydney's coming up. We've also got Web Directions. Love the Web Directions conferences. And also the UX conference. Are you going to the UX?
Managing design? Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm speaking.
Yeah, sure.
The Web Directions Brisbane got cancelled.
Oh no, that's all.
Doing a free talk next Thursday night with Billy Friedman from Smashing Mag and Rachel Mathers.
Yeah.
I think works at Edge.
Yeah, that is a not to miss.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
send
really
an email around. Oh no!
Cool.
Oh no! We've got the WordPress meeting on.
Ah!
Yeah, so
Collaborate!
Maybe we should cancel this one.
It's free.
Hey, we can offer the venue. Do we need a venue? Oh, they've got a venue.
We are.
Which is our next slide. Anything else? Oh, we're all good. But we do have one other thing. So next month, and this is a regular meetup which will occur the first Wednesday of every month, except for next month because, and wait for the pun, oh yeah, I went there.
Oh,
Drum roll. You can't sing it that long. Next month we have Localhost deployment happening, so the meetup will actually be happening on a Friday night, because Friday night. But yeah, the speakers are going to be a little bit tired, but no, that'll be fine. There's going to be a lot of Red Bull, won't there? There'll be a lot of Red Bull. Yeah. But yeah, starting in Roadshow basically starts in Perth, Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane. And the good thing is, like, we can take a bunch of really, really cool speakers come through. So Simon Wright, we have Sludload, Glenn Madden. We also have representing Brisbane, Anna Harrison and Brett Jones from Perth, and some really, really cool speakers, really, really cool topics. So we'd love for you all come along. But please go check out the localhost.events to get more info on that. And yes, we're heaps excited about that. Woo! Are we excited? Yes, we are. Woo! Did you want another joke? I actually had one, and you do it okay. All right, before I get to that slide. Wait, let me make sure I get the wording right, because this one's a little bit tricky and the night is late. But why did the image and copy go out on a date? Because they were content. On that. I do have a very long list, so if you all come, you will hear the list eventually, but I do come up with new ones from time to time. I promise there are new ones. Anyway. You haven't heard those yet, so that's good. Thank you to our amazing speakers, so Matt Way and Ben Michie, of course our amazing sponsors, Just Digital People, AWIA, Stream Web Industry Association, and also Young Henry's, of course, for putting on the food, the drink, and the amazing venue. And of course you all, for all turning up, which is awesome. Woo, thank you. You wouldn't have liked my pumpkin. Last but not least, if you want to get involved, if you have a talk that you want to do, we would love to hear from you. We want to help use this to highlight speakers, also for people to get involved. And like these meetups have always been really great, because this is where you share ideas. And like Pat said that as well, this is the collaboration between different languages, and where we can foster new ideas and new innovation, which is amazing. Last but not least, the amazing Localhost organising team, and yeah, thank you to everyone. That's the full organising team. And there was a few weeks of like kicking around emails and sort of organising anything, and there's a lot that goes into these meetups, as I'm sure some of you know, because you do organise them. So yeah, big round of applause to the amazing team. And that's it. Please finish off whatever food's left, and there's still some drinks, I think. So, and mingle plus stickers. So come see stickers.